Alright boys, I hope I'm doing this right. For one, the glow shift gauges, when you order them, they give you this if you're doing a water temp gauge, and this is not big enough to fit in the stock location, nor would I want to remove my stock location. I want to leave that stock water temp operable, and you can't piggyback off of the wiring for that gauge, because from what I understand it will cause issues and inaccurate readings. So just to go over this again, I've got 100 psi fuel pressure and a 15-pound boost gauge. The A pillar is in the car right now, and I'm finagling with wiring at the firewall. One green wire has to come out here, which is the single wire that comes out to connect the water temp sensor. They sell those adapters that you cut your hose and you put the adapter in there and you screw the temperature sensor into the adapter, but of course I have no room. I could do it down low. I don't know what I'm going to do. At the moment, I don't know what I'm going to do. But as far as boost is concerned, I am going to tap into the FMU line somewhere over there with the T that they give you. The rubber hose that they gave me is all kinked up, which I don't like. And this, honestly, I just don't even know if it's going to work. It's got so many kinks in it from where they had it folded and tied. I mean, I get it, it's rubber, it'll probably, I don't know. I do know it has to be away from heat. And the fuel pressure wire I ran just loosely down over here, and that will plug in right there. Very tight fit. Getting this back on and everything tight, that is super tight down there. Just disconnected the battery. I started filming because I wanted to show you guys what we have going on over here. The only way I could do this, for one, I have the visor kind of propped up against this piece here just to hold it up for now, because I bought the glow shift wiring kit, which I definitely recommend. They give you a hell of a lot of wiring, but the way they set it up so that you can wire all three gauges, they splice them all together and they give you 3 lengths of wire to run through each pod. This here is the boost, obviously. This will be the fuel pressure, and this here with the green wire, additional green wire, will be where I put the water temp. I decided I wanted the boost kind of at eye level. Yeah, and I was only able to pick up 2 of these at $8 a pop this morning, because I forgot to order those when I ordered all this. Some shrinkable butt connectors and some other shittier kind for 22 bucks, dude. Rip off. $50 sitting right there. 50 bucks. So yeah, that's where we're at. This thing does seem to fit really well. The pillar, I did end up painting it with some Landau black that I had because it was way too shiny and like just plasticky looking. So yeah, that's that. I am gonna attempt to start wiring things up, and I'll deal with the water temp later. As far as the sensor is concerned, this is the OE one that I cracked when I was putting it together, trying to put it, lock it into the aftermarket cup holder console. When I pushed down on it, it snapped. So this is an aftermarket one that I painted last night. with the titanium LMR paint. So I've got to transfer the ashtray over there because, you know, there'll probably be a lot of people smoking in my back seat. And yeah, so that's, I mean, that's where I'm at with it, I guess. This is really one of those things that's just so tedious, and working in that area underneath the dash is just a pain in the absolute ass, man. It hurts. You can't get in there good. But all in all, I think I can do this. Like I said, ideally I would have an AFR wideband, but I can't tune. I'm running an FMU, so honestly, I don't even know if it would be worth it. I mean, I guess it would be worth it to know, but it's not like I can do anything about it. So, yeah, I just decided that I didn't want to spend another couple $100 on that gauge right now. I got that whole setup for $216, all 3 gauges with the pillar. Actually, I think it was a little bit more than that because I bought the extra wiring and I bought that Schrader valve piece, which was like another $20-something. But that's where we're at with it. Oh, they also give you these if you want to drill holes in the actual pillar. You can pop these little bad doggies in. For the boost gauge. This here, apparently the green wire goes to the white wire, the one that comes out of the firewall, and then the black wire is going to be a ground, of course. And because this has a sensor, this is part of the fuel pressure setup. The boost gauge is the only one that doesn't have, you know, it's already pre-wired. It doesn't have a plug-in. So, stay tuned. We'll see what happens. So we're back. I ordered a 180 thermostat. Yeah, everything else is in good shape. We're going to replace this water neck. I found one on Amazon, which is probably better as far as heat soak. It was made of what looked like to be a bed of metal. It was a Mr. Gasket brand for $40, but I ended up going with the $9 one from LMR because it does have the tapped insert with the little Allen grub screw in there, you know, set screw. So I'll put the temp sender for the glow shift gauges in that. As you can see, the green wire back there just kind of taped up and out of the way. That is for the temp gauge. And I went with the contour fan, the LMR contour fan set that comes with the Y block for the sensor, the Dakota Digital 2800 BT fan controller, you know, the fan install kit. So I'm hoping that will keep this thing cool. I got everything ready. I just need to scrape the intake for the new water neck, and that should be that. Finally repainted this because it didn't come out good. Painted this because it was just chipped off black paint, and ended up doing the AC black, gloss black, as opposed to the flat that was on there, and I painted the front. I mean, I was just like, you know, you're like, oh, I'm in here. So I'm waiting on that stuff. That kit should show up on Monday. And also, while I was at it, there's lots of stress cracks in these. This one was totally broken. I used glue, like a really good super glue, just to kind of glue the stress, you know, the little cracks that were in it. And this thing here, of course, all the metal things were missing, the little tabs that stick on, because you know, they were all broken, the little plastic poles that it sits on. So what I ended up doing was heating up a butter knife and just getting it on there really good, and it's on there. It ain't going nowhere. I mean, unless you pull at it, which there shouldn't be any reason to pull at it. I painted this because I had never painted it with the Landau paint. So now it'll match the rest. I even painted these. Of course, I taped off the portions that you don't want to get painted, and that's where we're at right now. I'm just waiting on that stuff. And while I was at it, I finally bought a burp kit. Oh, and because my gas cap blew apart in my hand, I ordered a Motorcraft one from Amazon for, I don't know, I forget how much it was, $20, so something less than that. But it came with a little piece that you attach, just pop that screw off. But yeah, I turned my gas cap a few weeks ago, putting gas in it, and it just basically crumbled into about 6, 7 different pieces and fell apart. So here we are with my beautiful daughter on a Sunday, and I'm trying to get prepped because I know the kit is showing up to my office tomorrow, and I really want to get everything in next week. I may even get the speedometer back in the car today. New fans. Took the thermostat off, as you can see, the tape. I'm going to go ahead and put in a 180 thermostat and a new water neck, or a thermostat housing that has a 3/8 inlet, so that I can finish wiring that green wire there to the sender that I'm going to install in there, so I have a proper water temp gauge alongside of the temp gauge in the original bezel. But this one will have numbers on it and be hopefully a lot more accurate. So yeah, that's that. $140 later, we have all the wires and everything else I need. Probably should have just done that on Amazon, but whatever. I went to AutoZone this morning. We got the Speedo cable in last night. The new one with the metal tip on the gauge side, as opposed to the plastic one that I got from LMR that basically just melted off. But again, I may have installed it wrong. I don't know what happened. I really don't. So we got that done. And that's not the reason for the video, though. After a ton of research, looking at those PWM controllers, the pulse width module style fan controllers, and then of course just talking with a good friend of mine about the simplest possible controller, I decided that I would just go with the setup that LMR is selling for $400 and change. It comes with this 2800 BT, the newest Dakota Digital fan controller, 170 amp relay, and an extra 70 amp relay with this kit. This is the dual fan kit, sending unit, the SVE Y block so that you can keep your factory temperature sending unit, the one that goes to the computer, and then of course there's an adapter to fit that into there. The bracketry, they're identical for the contour fans. Overflow tank, miscellaneous hardware, and a hose. This thing's got a couple nicks and scrapes on it. Nobody ever likes seeing that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? With the kind of money we spend. Definitely cheaply made, but sure, it works. New 180 thermostat, Motorcraft contour fans. This was busted off in the box, but I believe they may have just saved me some work, because as far as I know, these have to come off anyway. And this is the contour fan setup. Let's take you over here for a minute and get some better lighting. I had the stock clutch fan and shroud and coolant overflow. I've since removed that in preparation for the contour fan setup. I've also removed my water neck because I wanted to put a lower thermostat in it. It had a 192. I'm putting a 180 in it, and I bought a different water neck because I needed one that had the 3/8 fitting, so that I could mount the glow shift temp gauge to that fitting. And I've talked about that in the past, but so that's going to get done. The old stuff over there. I've already test fitted the contour fans, just so you guys know. This is a 6-rib Vortec kit, and it fits perfect. And that's definitely, I can't remember the model number, so I'll show you guys. That's a Champion radiator, and you can find that model number online. It's like a $300 radiator. This was in the car when I bought it. I believe it's a 3-core, like a true 3-core. But it's, from what I understand, it's the same size as that SVE one. So that's that. I bought way more wire than I needed in some instances because I should have just done it on Instagram. I mean on Instagram. I should have just bought everything from Amazon. But this morning I went out to Advanced Auto Parts. They had no 10 gauge wire, so I ended up going to the Auto Parts. I'm sorry, the AutoZone that supplies all the AutoZones in my area, and they happen to have the 10 gauge, but of course they had it in like 30 foot. I'm sorry, they only had it in 8 foot lengths, and they recommend 10 foot for this, so I had to buy 2 8-footers. They had nothing smaller than 40 foot in the 18 and the 16 gauge. And of course, this kit, honestly, they should just give you the wiring. I mean, how hard would it be? I had to buy 2 fusible links, fuse taps, whatever you want to call them, and then inline fuse holders. They had no traditional style fuse holders, so what I did was I bought the these are like waterproof or something, but I bought the ones that take the smaller fuses, which are fine. I mean, they're the same as a traditional style fuse. This is a 30 amp because I happen to have a fuse kit that has, I mean, I could have bought them, but I knew that I had this fuse kit with all the right fuses, the minis in it, which those take minis. So I got that done. And again, this is the kit, the $440 kit that comes with the Dakota Digital 2800 VT, the SVE Y block, which is really going to be a pain in the ass. Just so you guys know, if you're running a blower, you've got these lines here that aren't really going to move. I might be able to lift it a bit. I've already taken the bracket off the plug wires that I had here just so I could peek in there, but I've got to get this off and I've got to get this in there and be able to spin it with this in the way, and this isn't going to move much, you know, so I'm really a little concerned about that. I may choose to just try to run the temperature sender off of my glow shift gauge, which is going to be mounted to the water neck, because it says the Dakota Digital can do that. I don't know if it's going to affect my glow shift gauge like reading, but we'll see when we get that far. Right now, and if I have to, I'll just sell this Y block. Original water neck. Let me show you this piece of work, huh? This is what, I mean, I should have just bought the Mr. Gasket one, but I really didn't want chrome, and then it was $40. But look at this thing. Look at the casting work. This is, I mean, granted, it was $9. This is what LMR sells for $9. Look at this thing. Terrible. Look how gouged up the surface, the face surface is. I honestly don't want to use it, but I needed this, you know. And so there's that. And that, of course, this is the glow shift gauge input. It needs the little bung. They have given me a bung, you know, the little, I shouldn't call it a bung, I guess an adapter, if I use their sending unit, the Dakota Digital sending unit. It's like 600 degrees. I swear to God, guys, it's Florida, man. It's out of control. I've already, there's my shirt laying up there because I've already soaked that. This is the, and that's the condition I got it in. This is the overflow tank they give you and the hose and the little bracketry. But yeah, $140 for all this crap, all the wiring. And I've got all the wiring done. Right now I'm just trying to support the wiring. You know, I used proper style butt connectors and crimped them and then heat shrunk them. I tested the fans for proper polarity. It turns out that the negative is going to be the one with the white stripe, and positive has a blue stripe on it. Okay, I mounted my 70 amp relays, where they're supposed to be. While my phone's saying this temperature is too high, I'm gonna have to cut this short. But yeah, I just want to give you guys an update on where I'm at. I'm about to mount these brackets that came with it, and of course in the video they show LMR just drop them right through these holes, and that ain't happening. So yeah, I'm gonna have to drive that through there. And then of course this is the second hole, and ain't just dropping right through. So I'll have to drive those through and get these brackets mounted, and then then test fit it in the car once I get the overflow mounted. And then I'm going to run the wiring to the coil and get the AC wiring done and get it through the firewall, because the Dakota Digital has to be mounted inside the car, the unit, and we'll do all that under dash stuff. I did get my speedo working. I ordered one from Amazon that has a metal bezel on the gauge side. The one from LMR, in the video they show, in the install video they show it has a metal bezel on, or a metal side on the bezel on the gauge side, but the one they sell you on LMR only has metal on this side and plastic on the other side, and mine just totally melted. It just like curled up and turned into nothing. So, and basically I just reached in there and pulled it out when I ended up pulling the gauges apart. So my speedo never worked. That new speedo cable I bought from LMR never worked. So I took it out, I installed this one. I'm able to spin it now and see my gauge actually work. So I'll get it properly mounted at the transmission. This is the new speed sensor that I did buy from LMR at the time, and the proper tooth gear. So I got some work to do. This is the old stuff, 192 old Ford setup, not tapped for a sending unit. Man, it's hot. I used one of the factory holes and put a nut and bolt through this. This is just an old wire harness connector, I guess, or that I had laying around. One of those metal ones, you know, with a little rubber around it. I had some tubing, so I decided to put that on there for here and here. And I don't have any bigger tubing to do this portion, so I'm gonna have to get some, but I'm not gonna let that stop me today. Got the overflow mounted. It's a little cocked, but that's the way it goes on. And this here, in my opinion, it looks like it's doing this. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I made light earlier that you couldn't just drop these through the holes, but honestly it's honestly probably better that you actually kind of have to screw it through the plastic. So I'm gonna drop it in. They gave you brackets to replace the factory stuff, but my factory stuff on the radiator is still good. So yeah, I planned on getting this done in one day, and unfortunately there was a few things that stopped me from doing that, one of which was a noticeable power steering leak. I've never had any whine from this power steering pump, which I was always, you know, happy about, of course. But considering it's a 76,000 mile car, you know, I guess I didn't expect it. However, when I started trying to fit the new fan setup, I touched the power steering hose a few times, and within a matter of minutes she was leaking from, you can't see it, the connection right there. Apparently it's a Teflon seal, so I'm going to deal with that. I tried to tuck my wires as much as I could without taking apart everything that holds the condenser on, and I need to look more into that, but long story short, the overflow tank was hitting the power steering pulley, and I got it to the point where it was literally like a sea air away. So I wasn't happy with that. I used my own bracket. I wish I did some, started shooting this when I had it originally mounted on my own bracket, as well as their bracket with a hole drilled out below the original mounting point. Usually you'd have this kind of a scenario. I've decided to use my own bracket here, and I'm going to have to, I've marked it, I'm going to have to drill into this or Dremel it so that I can get the actual nut in there and then put the bolt through. But ultimately, the overflow has to be as low and tucked as possible. Why is that? Well, could be for a few reasons. For one, I don't have the SVE radiator, but from what I understand, my radiator is the same size. This is a Champion, and if you're curious on what model, I still have some concerns that my motor is doing this a little bit based on the way the TKX mounts to the factory trans mount. But I have spaces in there now, which initially when we installed the TKX, the motor was like way high, which caused this damage to my blower that I hate looking at, and it ultimately cut my hood, which isn't a huge deal, but I'd rather not cut factory Ford parts from, original Ford parts. But I did, and the hood's going anyway because this Florida heat is not going to allow me to have a stock hood with a blower. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I think the motor still may have a little bit of a tilt to it, not much, which eventually I'll get to measuring the driveline angle and all that good stuff. But right now I couldn't get this SVE fan kit in there in its intended way. So this is as far as I got, and tonight I just decided to use another one of these here and figured out what I need to do to make it work. So stay tuned, and we'll hopefully get this done at some point. What's up, boys? Yeah, once again, still dealing with this. Of course, I had to take a step back and deal with the power steering pump that was leaking. Look at that lovely tape job, huh? I was like, whatever. Yeah, I just painted it up. I decided I'm going to use it, even though, I mean, honestly, it's one of the worst pieces of automotive machine work I've ever seen. But for $9, whatever. I scuffed it for what it's worth. Smooth, got this as smooth as I could, and painted it with that pearl black that I painted my intake with. And today's adventure has been, I got these for like $2 on Amazon because I have an original power steering pump, which is good. It never had any whining issues, but it's leaking on the high pressure line. So I bought these and then realized I needed to buy these because there was no way I was getting the bolt out without a box wrench. And to buy a single box wrench at O'Reilly's was like $17, $18, and this was $26. So 18 millimeter, in case you're wondering. And this is what my Teflon seal looks like. As you can see, it's like part of 2 threads at this point. So, and I just cleaned it all with brake cleaner, so that's why it looks so clean. But yeah, so we're gonna get that done, and decided that we are gonna run the wires that would normally run along here up on top of the radiator. I am gonna cut out this section here to allow them to rest easy, because it's going to allow me to pull the radiator that close, which is much closer than I could with them there. And I need that room to get the overflow in there without hitting the power steering pump pulley. I also had to bend this bracket, which is how this whole power steering pump situation was brought to light in the first place. Speaking of light, I had to basically take the bracket, I don't know if you can see it, but that's where the bracket loops around the hose, and push it so that it would come from what would be normally maybe about here all the way to, yeah, about here to here, because I need that fitment. And I see now why some guys don't have the overflow mounted there. They have it mounted over there or something. We got this all cleaned up, ready to go. Thermostat and new water neck. 180 thermostat and new water neck. And I'm gonna go ahead with the radiator cover bracket clamp that covers all of this. So, the long one. That's going to be my solution. So stay tuned. We'll see if I can get it done and how clean it looks. Sorry about the noise. My washer and dryer is in my garage. And it is running. So this is what I come up with. $9, 3/8, 27 MPT, 1/8 MPT input. This little black anodized adapter here, $9.99 on Amazon. I'm sure you guys can find them cheaper, of course, if you buy them in bulk too. But this is what's left of the install. We're on pause because I have reason to believe anyway, after a modification, my engine and trans is still sitting at too much of an angle. So my crank pulley is, I mean, if it isn't touching, then it's like, I mean, you couldn't even fit a razor blade through it, between the fan shroud and the crank pulley. But I never bought the stiffless kit. I used the stock cross member, and I put bushings between the trans and the trans mount, about the same size as the ones that the stiffless install kit sells you. But I still think that mine are maybe a little too small, and who knows, maybe the polyurethane mount that they sell is bigger than the stock mount. I would assume it's the same size. But now that she's sitting on this slight angle, I'm also concerned that I'm getting a little bit of lift like this as well, because of the way the rear tires are putting pressure on the drive shaft. So, long story short, I don't have enough room down there that I would be comfortable running it. I'm going to take it off of these, see how it is. If it's okay, then it's okay. If it isn't, I'm going to spend the $250, which I'm eventually going to do it anyway, and buy the Stifler's cross member and the Stifler's install kit and the polyurethane trans mount for the TKX, because again, that's what I'm running. The SVE block, the adapter for the Dakota fan control, and of course I also had the issue of how to run my additional water temp gauge from the glow shift gauges on the pillar there. One of the toughest things is getting this adapter tight and in a position where you can actually mount this stuff. So good luck getting that situated, because it doesn't want to spin in a way that it's easy to get two in here. So we're going to put this one down in here. I do have enough room because this is somewhat flexible. I already did a dry run with this installed, as opposed to installing this first and then trying to squeeze this in. I can do it. So we're going to install this. We're going to wire up that water temp gauge, and I'd like to get my speedo in today now that I know it's working. I'm sure you saw the footage from the previous video, or the footage in general of the different style speedo cable. Metal down here, metal up top. The one I bought from LMR was metal down here, plastic up top, and I did include pictures, or will include pictures, that show what happened to that. And it may have been my fault. I may not have clicked it in all the way. I honestly, I don't know what happened, but it basically just melted the little male input for the speedo, and it never worked. And I feel negligent driving this thing without a speedo, even though I've only done, you know, a dozen or so runs back and forth to work, and, you know, in between, you know, little, let's see what kind of bugs we can work out runs. It's probably only got maybe 3-4 hours of driving since the whole setup took place, you know, since I got it. So we're going to get that done today, and maybe poke at some of, if I can get the speedometer gear in and get that buttoned up, I'll feel confident to take it off of those. That's the only reason I put it on the ramps in the first place. And see how much distance I have between the crank pulley and the fan shroud, and then maybe start buttoning up some of the rest of this wiring in the car. Find a place to mount the Dakota Digital fan controller. I don't want it out in the open. I don't want it, I think it's going to end up going in the glove box. Maybe not permanently mounted in there, but, you know, mounted in a place in a way where the wires aren't going to be an issue or anything like that. So, and this here, again, just to kind of take a few steps back, this is the glow shift water temp gauge sender, and they didn't give me an adapter, and their website doesn't sell an adapter. So I found one on Amazon, which is, you know, the Dakota Digital kit comes with one for this, you know, for the SVE block and their sender, but I needed one more, so got one more. And it's hot as hell out, so that's part of the reason why I haven't been doing much. I mean, I haven't done anything. I just started a new job less than, I don't know, a month ago. I work from home now. It's just been crazy. This car's basically just been sitting here all summer long. I mean, I was lucky I got the fans in there and got as far as I did, because I can't deal with the heat, man. I really can't. You guys saw what I did with the overflow tank to get it mounted to where it wouldn't hit the power steering pump pulley. Now there's a nice gap there. It also comes in contact with the power steering pump line, but I'm happy with where it is now. This line isn't bolted, I don't believe, I forget, but I changed the Teflon gasket in there because when I was moving everything around, I noticed a major leak, and I noticed it had been leaking for a long time prior. So that's been fixed. Hopefully that holds up. And I ended up having to run my wires across here, because what I'm going to do is I can get this as close as possible to give me as much room as possible up there at the fan shroud. And I'm going to use the cover style fan, radiator bracket. So that'll cover those up. And I mean, it's not ideal, but I can get all that tucked in there. And I ended up cutting these off because these kind of stood up like right about there on each side. I ended up cutting them off. They didn't stand up. I cut the corners off of them so I could route the wires down in the corner. Most of this build, and I had motivation to launch a YouTube channel surrounded, you know, around it, but I just don't have the time. But it's things like this that I have to take the time to at least, you know, film. It's a lot of work, man. It really is. I'm gonna mount it up here with Velcro vertically. It's just a lot of work. But that's where we're at today. And the fuse box stuff is done. Now I just need to button a couple things up underneath the hood. Make sure this upper radiator hose is good, which it isn't right now. And get the battery back in it, clean up that area there, put the cover back on it. Actually, I need to connect the the two wires that go to the coil. I mean, between putting loom on everything, and it's just a lot of work, man. Routing everything, because I have gauges, I needed a separate port, plus I needed the port for the for the actual fan control itself, which is this. This here is the port for my water temp gauge, so I could keep my factory gauge for what it's worth for now. We'll see. Alright, boys and girls, we're making progress. After messing around with the Bluetooth settings for this fan controller and reading and reading and reading, I think I finally figured it out. We're definitely making progress. She's about to, thermostat's about to open. I have a separate water temp gauge there. I have a 180 thermostat now as opposed to a 193 or 195, whatever was in it. Now I can see the inaccuracy from the factory gauge versus, well, I shouldn't say inaccuracy, versus this gauge. She's been running for a couple minutes now. And I could turn the AC on and the fans should come right on, but I really want to just see if they're going to come on at temp. You can see I have a Y block here. That would be the gauge temperature sender. That would be the fan control temperature sender. And we're working some bubbles out of her. And she's getting hot. There's her mom.